as you can see from the materials that have been provided, which were unsealed in court just a few moments ago. This case involves a complicated fraud scheme that several of my partners from the law enforcement community, as well as the lead prosecutor, can discuss in detail in a few moments. At its heart, though, this prosecution involves the same themes that, unfortunately, I have had the occasion to discuss time and time again over the last year. Indiana public officials who abandon their values and embrace a culture of corruption. That type of behavior is wrong. It needs to stop. And that is why federal law enforcement and why the United States Attorney's Office, working together, launched this year a first-of-its-kind public integrity working group in order to combat these very kinds of criminal acts. Today, the United States Attorney's Office, along with our federal law enforcement partners from that working group, is announcing a 9-count indictment against John J. Carter, a local business person and an appointed member of the Evansville Redevelopment Commission. Mr. Carter is alleged to have engaged in a scheme to launder hundreds of thousands of dollars on behalf of a drug trafficking organization that was importing hundreds of pounds of marijuana into the Evansville area. The indictment alleges that Mr. Carter assisted the drug dealers in a number of different ways. He facilitated real estate transfers, business deals, and other financial transactions. And on at least one occasion, Mr. Carter is alleged to have testified before the Evansville Public Safety Committee in support of awarding a city contract that benefited the drug dealers. It is indeed a sad day when our community leaders fall short of the standards that the public deservedly expects from them. But it would be even more tragic if these acts went unnoticed and unpunished. And the United States Attorney's Office reaffirms today our dedication to aggressively target, identify, investigate, and prosecute, along with our federal law enforcement partners, any instance of corruption here in Evansville or anywhere throughout the Southern District of Indiana. In that regard, we are aided in these efforts by members of our Public Integrity Working Group, who I alluded to before. Today's announcement is the culmination of outstanding law enforcement work by the Internal Revenue Service, Criminal Investigations Division, as well as the Drug Enforcement Administration here in Evansville. And in that regard, I am proud to introduce for a few comments my law enforcement partners. First, IRS Acting Supervisory Special Agent Lori Overton. Lori.
IRS Criminal Investigation is united with the U.S. Attorney's Office, Drug Enforcement Administration, Evansville Police Department, and all other law enforcement agencies in our resolve to disrupt these criminal organizations that commit these crimes in our communities. We're committed to this working group, and we commend the dedication and commitment of the agencies and their agents in achieving these successful results.
Also with us today is the Drug Enforcement Administration agent, David Turner. Dave.
I'd like to just take this minute to thank our partners in helping us in this investigation. The lead was the IRS. Did a great job in helping us on this case, and for prosecution, Matt Brookman, who helped us get Mr. Carter indicted. And we too stand with the investigation to make sure that justice will be served.
Thanks, David. Can't say enough about the Internal Revenue Service and the Drug Enforcement Administration, their efforts, the agents who were involved in the investigation have done an outstanding job. No case would be indicted without a lead government prosecutor, and that lead government prosecutor is the Evansville branch chief of the United States Attorney's Office, Assistant United States Attorney Matt Brookman. Matt?
I don't have a whole lot to say beyond what's already been said. The information in the indictment lays out pretty clearly the allegations here and the crimes that were committed. I would just echo the great level of cooperation we have in Evansville amongst our federal agencies, the hard work by the IRS, by the DEA, and a host of other law enforcement that were involved in this case. So.
Questions?
Actually, I have several questions you might be able to answer. First question is, when did this investigation into Carter's involvement begin, and how did it begin?
Well, the indictment alleges that the indictment has a couple of things in there. It alleges the time frame of the money laundering conspiracy, and it also makes reference to the United States versus Jose Ramos indictment that was returned earlier last year. That was a large marijuana conspiracy, and was actually the Hogsett conspiracy that the money laundering occurred out of. So this was part of that same investigation, involved kind of an offshoot from there.
When is he being detained? Can you tell?
He's not being detained. He just Mr. Carter had an initial appearance in front of the magistrate judge this morning, early this afternoon. He was ordered released with certain conditions under the supervision of the United States probation, pending his trial.
What are those conditions?
There's a host of kind of standard conditions. I don't know those off the top of my head, but they involve turning in a passport if you have one, or not getting a passport, maintaining employment or seeking employment, not changing your residence, drug testing, all those sorts of things.
Okay.
Questions? Any other?
What was the IRS's role in this, as far as where did they intersect with the investigation?
Well, I can tell you that the IRS is probably the premier law enforcement agency when it comes to crunching numbers and finding the money and trailing the money and financial and investigating financial transactions. So they played a critical role, as you can tell from the allegations in the indictment. They were involved in every part of that, and they played a critical role in that.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah. Could you just kind of expand on, you just talked about it's a sad day and nobody's about 25?